You've probably been told that playing it safe with money is the smart move. Stick to stable jobs, save consistently, avoid risk. And on the surface, that advice sounds reasonable. But here's the twist few people ever notice. The system itself is designed to reward stability, not ambition. Banks, corporations, even governments quietly create invisible rules that favor the cautious, while the risk takers often get left behind. Not because they're reckless, but because the system subtly punishes volatility. Think about your own financial life. Every time you move a dollar, every time you choose a career path, every time you deposit a paycheck or skip an investment opportunity, you are interacting with this hidden system. And here's the unsettling truth. Most people never see it. They think they're making neutral, rational decisions, but in reality, they're being guided towards safe choices that guarantee a certain kind of outcome. It's like a river current. You can paddle hard, but if you don't understand the flow, you'll end up where the river wants you to go. Now, imagine 20 years from now. The friends who chased security are comfortable, predictable, and slightly behind in real wealth. Meanwhile, those who understood the system quietly leveraged risk and timing. They're far ahead, often without looking like winners in the moment. This isn't about luck. It's about recognizing the invisible architecture of money. Most people never notice, because the system is designed to make safety feel like wisdom. Here's the curiosity loop. By the end of this video, you'll understand the exact rules banks and financial institutions exploit to reward stability over risk. You'll see how these rules affect your career, your investments, and even the way your money compounds over decades. And once you see it, you'll start making decisions differently, not for short-term gains, but for long-term leverage that most people will never understand. Before we dive in, let me set your expectation clearly. This isn't about hype, trending stocks, or motivational platitudes. This is about seeing the system for what it is, about recognizing patterns that quietly shape your financial life, about making calm, deliberate choices that give you control over outcomes years from now. And one more thing, by the time you understand the hidden rules, you'll realize just how much your current habits, no matter how safe they feel, might actually be costing you in the long run. That realization is uncomfortable, but it's also powerful, because once you see it, you can finally step off the treadmill that most people never escape. Now, let's start by unpacking the first mechanism the system uses to favor stability, and why understanding it will quietly shift how you see every financial decision from here on out.
The first rule banks and the financial system use to reward stability is deceptively simple. Consistency compounds more reliably than volatility. On paper, it seems fair. Regular deposits, steady savings, predictable spending, these are encouraged. But the hidden layer is that this system rewards predictability itself, often more than raw ambition or risk-taking. Think about how a traditional savings account works. You put money in every month, the balance grows steadily, and over years, interest quietly accumulates. Nothing flashy, nothing headline-worthy. But here's the subtlety. The system measures loyalty, not bravery. If you consistently follow the path of safe moves, banks can leverage your behavior. They extend credit, they offer better rates, they reward you indirectly with options that someone chasing high-risk gains might never see. Contrast that with someone chasing high-risk investments or switching jobs for rapid growth. On the surface, they may appear bold, but the system sees unpredictability as risk. Sometimes it punishes it quietly, through higher interest, lower trust scores, or missed opportunities. The person taking leaps may actually earn more in a short burst, but they are often excluded from long-term compounding benefits that come only to the steady player. Here's a real-life example. Imagine two coworkers. Sarah contributes to her retirement account every month, invests in index funds consistently, and keeps her career progression steady. Mike jumps industries, experiments with side hustles, and chases emerging markets. In 20 years, Sarah's account may outpace Mike's, not because she was smarter, but because the invisible rules of the system favor her predictable behavior. The lesson? Stability isn't just comfort. It's a silent signal the system rewards, whether you notice it or not. Now, before you think this means play it safe always, here's the rehook. Understanding this hidden rule gives you leverage. If you know how consistency is rewarded, you can decide which risks actually compound alongside stability instead of gambling blindly. Missing this truth isn't just an opportunity cost. It's a structural disadvantage that grows over decades. And the kicker? The system is always watching, quietly scoring you based on patterns, not outcomes. By the time most people realize, the steady players have quietly pulled ahead, and the risk takers are left chasing returns that could have been captured more strategically. So next, we'll explore the second mechanism, the way the system incentivizes small, invisible sacrifices today for rewards decades later, and why most people never even notice they're being nudged in that direction.
The second hidden mechanism the system uses is subtle, almost invisible. It rewards small sacrifices today for advantages decades later. Most people think financial gains are about big moves, high salaries, stock picks, or sudden windfalls. But the system is structured differently. It prefers those who accept quiet, incremental trade-offs over time. Think about it. Skipping a latte or a weekend splurge doesn't feel like much. Yet that consistency, redirecting small amounts towards savings or investments, triggers compounding effects the system favors. The same goes for career decisions. Choosing slightly less glamorous roles that provide steady growth instead of chasing immediate high-paying but unstable positions. The system doesn't just notice, it rewards predictability and delayed gratification in ways most people never see. Here's a concrete example. Two employees start their careers simultaneously. Alex maximizes every paycheck on immediate pleasures and occasional speculative investments. Jordan accepts slightly lower pay, but contributes regularly to a retirement fund and builds a steady career path. 10, 20 years down the line, Jordan's financial stability opens doors Alex never considered: low-interest loans, better investment options, even selective career opportunities. The invisible system has quietly guided outcomes to favor the consistent path without either noticing at first. Now, the psychology behind this is powerful. Humans are wired for immediate reward. We feel progress only when we see it daily, monthly, or yearly. The system exploits this bias by offering slow, almost imperceptible gains to those who sacrifice small comforts. Most people never stick long enough to see the pattern. They leave the system thinking it's arbitrary, when in reality it's meticulously designed. Here's the rehook. Recognizing this invisible nudge allows you to align risk and stability intentionally. Once you understand the long-term consequence of small sacrifices, your decision-making changes. You stop gambling impulsively and start seeing which choices truly amplify over decades. Ignoring this is more than a missed opportunity. It quietly tilts the playing field against you in ways you won't notice until it's too late. The next mechanism takes this further. It's the way institutions measure your behavior, not your talent, and reward those who move in predictable patterns. And this is where most people completely misunderstand how leverage works in their financial life.
Imagine a boulder perched at the top of a hill. Two people face it. One tries to push it recklessly, giving it all their strength in bursts. The other nudges it consistently, inch by inch, day after day. At first, the second person seems slower, less impressive, even almost boring. But over time, the boulder moves steadily, gradually gaining momentum. Eventually, it rolls down the hill, powerful, unstoppable, and on a path perfectly controlled. This is exactly what financial life looks like for most people, but few realize it. Take Lisa, for example. She started her career with modest ambitions, always choosing stability over flashy opportunities. Friends mocked her slow progress, and she often felt invisible. Meanwhile, her peers chased high-risk ventures, hoping for quick wins. 5 years in, Lisa's savings, investments, and predictable career growth had quietly positioned her for opportunities her risk-taking friends could only dream of. The twist is in perception. From the outside, the system seems to favor risk. Success stories dominate headlines, but the truth is far quieter. It rewards steady, predictable action. Lisa's boulder may have moved slowly, but the trajectory was unstoppable, compounding benefits along the way. The people taking bigger leaps were constantly recalibrating, reacting to volatility, often missing the subtle long-term advantages Lisa had accumulated. The psychology here is important. Humans crave visible milestones and dramatic wins. The system, however, doesn't reward visibility. It rewards consistency that aligns with structural incentives. It's why those who understand the pattern can play invisible chess, quietly positioning themselves decades ahead, while others exhaust energy chasing unstable gains. Here's the rehook. Understanding the boulder metaphor isn't just illustrative, it's transformational. Once you see how small, steady actions accumulate in ways most people ignore, your decisions start to change. You stop overvaluing flashy risks and begin to align moves with invisible structures that reward consistency, timing, and strategic patience. Missing this lesson is like trying to push a boulder haphazardly, exhausting effort, little control, and unpredictable outcomes. And the next point builds directly on this story. It's the mechanism that converts predictable behavior into institutional trust, and why this trust quietly opens doors that most people never even know exist.
The third hidden mechanism the system exploits is often overlooked. Predictable behavior builds institutional trust, which unlocks advantages few notice. Banks, employers, and even governments don't just look at what you earn, they observe how you behave over time. Every consistent payment, every regular investment, every methodical career choice signals reliability. And reliability, in the eyes of the system, is a currency. Consider this. Two clients walk into the same bank. One has a history of steady deposits, consistent account activity, and regular financial planning. The other is erratic. High deposits one month, low the next, unpredictable spending. Even if both have identical net worth, the system implicitly favors the first. Why? Because predictability reduces risk for the institution, and the system rewards the behavior that lowers its own uncertainty. That reward comes quietly: better loan terms, preferential offers, or subtle investment opportunities. Here's a real-life example. Mark and Sophie both earn $85,000 a year. Mark pays off debts sporadically and jumps between short-term contracts. Sophie maintains a steady repayment schedule, contributes consistently to her investments, and keeps a predictable pattern in her career. A decade later, Sophie qualifies for better mortgage rates, exclusive investment programs, and low-risk credit access. Mark, despite having the same nominal resources, misses out. Not because he's reckless, but because the system has quietly signaled to him, "You're less reliable." Psychologically, this mechanism taps into a bias most people ignore. We overvalue immediate rewards and underappreciate the long-term influence of trust signals. The system, conversely, measures trust like a silent ledger. Each small, consistent action adds a point. Each erratic choice subtracts one. Over years, these points compound into opportunities, or the lack thereof. Here's the rehook. Once you realize that your behavior is being scored silently, your choices start to change. You begin to weigh the long-term leverage of predictable action over the immediate thrill of a high-risk move. Ignoring this rule doesn't just cost potential rewards, it makes future leverage exponentially harder to access. And next, we'll explore the fourth mechanism, the one that connects timing, consistency, and patience into compounding invisible advantages, showing why those who understand it are quietly decades ahead of the rest. The fourth hidden mechanism is subtle but decisive. Timing, consistency, and patience compound into invisible advantages that most people never see. The system doesn't just reward predictable actions, it rewards them at the right intervals, in alignment with structural incentives that unfold over decades. This is where quiet wealth accumulates, long before anyone notices. Imagine two investors. One invests sporadically, chasing trends and jumping in and out of opportunities based on hype. The other invests small amounts consistently, month after month, year after year, letting the system's compounding mechanisms quietly work. Over time, the second investor ends up far ahead, not because they took bigger risks, but because timing combined with consistency is systematically rewarded. The system silently amplifies their behavior, even if the gains seem modest in the early years. Here's a relatable scenario. Emma decides to contribute 5% of her paycheck into a retirement account every month. She doesn't obsess over market swings. She doesn't chase hot opportunities. Meanwhile, Jake takes a different approach, investing in high-risk stocks, occasionally doubling his gains, occasionally losing half. 10 years in, Emma's disciplined contributions and patience have compounded steadily, unlocking opportunities for low-interest loans, investment leverage, and career flexibility. Jake, despite appearing bolder, struggles to access the same structural advantages. The psychology is key. Humans undervalue slow compounding and long-term alignment. We want instant validation, immediate feedback, but the system rewards the opposite. It tracks long-term alignment, measured over time, and quietly nudges resources to those who stick with it. Once you notice the pattern, your choices transform. You stop trying to win fast and start understanding how to position yourself where the system will naturally favor you. Here's the rehook. Recognizing this mechanism gives you an almost invisible edge. You begin to see that risk isn't inherently bad, but it must be aligned with patience and consistency. Ignoring this is costly because the system will continue to compound advantages for those who understand its rhythm, leaving others perpetually behind. Next, we'll tie all of this together in the outro, visualizing how understanding these hidden rules transforms not just your finances, but the way you make every decision quietly, strategically, and advantageously for decades to come.
Now, take a moment and picture your financial life 20 years from now. The decisions you make today, small, deliberate, consistent, aren't just shaping your balance sheet. They're quietly positioning you in a system most people never notice. Those who chase flashy moves or immediate gratification will often find themselves exhausted, reactive, and just a step behind. But those who understand these hidden mechanisms, stability rewarded, small sacrifices compounded, behavior signaling trust, and timing leveraged patiently, will move steadily, almost invisibly, toward advantage. This isn't about luck or dramatic wins. It's about seeing the invisible architecture and choosing to operate within it. Once you understand it, your decisions change naturally. You start to weigh moves differently. You pause before reacting. You align risk with patience. You value predictability in ways most people dismiss. And quietly, over years, that alignment compounds into opportunities, freedom, and leverage that others never even knew existed. The transformation isn't immediate, but it is powerful. It's the difference between being carried along by the system and using it to your advantage. And the truth is, the deeper you go, the more thresholds you uncover, the subtle rules that multiply results without flashy effort. If you take one thing from this, let it be this. The system rewards those who understand its patterns long before the rewards are visible. Your task isn't to chase luck. It's to recognize the rhythm, align your actions with it, and let compounding quietly do the rest. And while this video ends here, your journey doesn't. There's always the next layer, the next hidden threshold, the next invisible lever that moves outcomes in your favor. Pay attention. Observe the patterns. Start positioning yourself now, and the system will begin to reward you. Silently, steadily, and powerfully, decades into the future.